came in and said, coming into this camp, the guys know what to expect, but the standard has to get higher. Now that you're a weekend, do they come in and kind of respond the way that you wanted them to through a week?
Yeah, I think the first day of camp was almost identical, other than maybe a couple little tweaks that we made, and that was by design. I wanted to see how their heart rates, how they reacted, because last year I really felt they hit a wall about, maybe 2/3 into that practice. And this year they sustained. They were able to push through. When you ask the guys after day one, they felt like, oh, that wasn't bad, which is a good sign. Now, doesn't mean the camp got easier. I think you asked them yesterday was a really hard day by design, but the standard has to go up. Day one and day two are easy. It's when you get into day 4, 5, 10, that's when it starts to get hard. You're sore, you're tired. Instead of complaining, you just do it, and you do it together. And I think, I'm seeing that from this group.
I wanted to ask about Carson Meyer. We see him in practice, and some of the scrimmages, he's scoring goals, things like that. And obviously, there's a lot more to camp than that. But do you see a guy, he's talked about he's worked on a lot of things in the summer. Do you see him maybe taking a step that maybe he had some confidence, too, from the way he played at the end of the season a year ago?
Yeah, well, you should get a little confidence. He was here, and he earned a spot. And a guy like him, he knows what he's going to have to do to get in the lineup. He's not taking the top 6 guys' role. It's not a slight on him. That's just where we are as far as the depth. So he has a role, and there's a purpose for what he does. His energy, his physicality, his being able to kill penalties, irritating the opponent out there. And the more you're on the ice, you get opportunity, you start to see the skill set. Danforth is such a great example of that. He was one of the top scorers in the KHL, came here, was down in the minors, came back, was playing a 4th-line role, and got himself in front of us every day. With confidence and with time, all of a sudden he had 10 goals at the end of the year. Nobody's talking about that. And you watch him in camp, he's 2 different players right now as far as his speed. So I feel like Carson's on that same kind of path, is know your identity, what you are, build off that, but trust your foundation. That's how you're going to get in the lineup.
Looks like you had Chuck and Chuck together out there again. What are you looking for with that pairing?
Well, 2 young guys that have really high ceiling, and they're not always going to be together, but I think the game 1 there in Pittsburgh, you saw them, you're talking, they're both a little nervous. I think especially Matejchuk. But it's the first time you put the jersey on in an NHL rink, and there's nerves. That's okay. He's 18 years old, but you can see, I've seen it in Traverse and early in camp, his poise, he's an assertive player. Jursek's very same thing. I believe he trusts his skill set. He's long, he's rangy, he's able to close, take away time and space. So I think as you see the games go along, I think you'll see them settle in, and what better way to do it together.
3-year contract extension got announced for Andrew Peeke during the middle of that skate there. How do you feel for a guy like that who obviously took such a big step last season?
Earned it. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Earned it. And there was a lot of questions going last year on D. And I've said this before. I think he was the one guy that separated himself and took the biggest step. But in saying that, like we're talking about the standard, that's his standard now. He can't dip below that. So he knows that, and I know he knows that because of how he came in. He's in probably the best shape I've seen him. He gained 5 or 10 pounds. His body fat went down, which means it's all muscle. You can see it on the ice. He's more confident. He's checking hard. He's physical. So, that's got to carry into the regular season, obviously. But I think he understands now what it's going to take for him to stay in the lineup every day. And, he's earned that contract.
Do you see versatility there with him, that he can play kind of up and down those pairs on the right side?
Yeah, we'll see. And, again, there's question marks on who's going to end up where. I'm pretty solidified with Gavi and Z. I know what they've done. Gabranson, he's a veteran guy. I'm not sure where he's going to slot in yet, but I know his skill set and what he can do. Who he pairs with, I'm not sure, and that's what these last 6 games are for.